the Joker, one of the most prominent features of the Batman Arkham franchise, the guy that you think to when you think of a Batman Arkham villain, or a Batman villain in general. However, today, I wanted to go over the Batman Arkham games and talk about which Batman Arkham game I believe Joker was best in. Now, how I'm going to do this is I'm going to rank them worst to best. And I want to preface this by saying this has nothing to do with voice actors, because Mark Hamill and Troy Baker did an amazing job voicing the Joker. That's what I'm going to preface this by saying, okay? These guys did amazing work. I'm not basing it off of their voice performances. It's more what their character did inside of the game and how they just were in general. So, without wasting too much of your time, we're going to get right into this list.
Oh, don't act all surprised, Bats. You knew this was going to happen sooner or later. Me stuck deep inside you.
Number 4, Batman Arkham Knight. While this game is very, very good and the Joker is used very well in this game, I'm not necessarily inclined to believe that this is the actual Joker, because of the fact that everything that happens in this game is purely in Batman's mind. Hence, it's not really the Joker. And yes, you can argue there's the Joker's blood inside of Batman, and Batman slowly turning into the Joker, blah, blah, blah. You know, Batman knows the Joker, so therefore he would know what Joker would say. But that's all in theory. None of that is 100% confirmed. And while Mark Hamill, in my opinion, this is his best voice actor job to date, simply because of the song that he sang for us. He did an amazing job singing his song to us. And yes, while I really like that, I just can't put it any higher than number 4. I have to put it at the bottom simply because it is not the actual Joker. With that being said, the Joker is extremely funny in this game. He does have a lot of quick, witty lines. He does a really good job of, getting inside Bruce's head and making Batman do rash things that he wouldn't normally do. For instance, making him punch harder and hurt these, thugs more than he usually would. Put a lot more force into it. Tricking him into, quote-unquote, killing Scarecrow on the Stag airship. Like, the Joker does a good job in this game doing what he has to do to get inside Batman's mind. However, unfortunately, at the end of the day, I just can't put him any higher than number 4 because this is simply not the actual Joker.
There's nothing you can teach me, Joker.
Oh, come on. There's always something to learn. Let's start with getting your ass kicked 101.
Number 3, Batman Arkham City. And while yes, this game is absolutely phenomenal, the Joker is done very, very well in this game, right? However, there is something I do need to point out about this that doesn't make it a typical Batman Joker experience. While you could technically say that Joker might reach out to Batman for help on something, that sounds extremely unlikely unless he was trying to pull a punchline on him. And in this game, Batman doesn't really get a punchline pulled on him. I mean, yeah, the Joker poisons him, but that's literally just so Batman is forced to help the Joker out. Otherwise, Batman is going to die. And to me in this game, it seems like the Joker's a little bit more desperate than anything else to get help. That's why he's forcing Batman to help him. This is why he's reached out to Batman and poisoned him so that he can help him. It makes Joker seem a lot more desperate. But that could also be seen as a good thing. It could also add to the potential chaos that this game has. However, I'm just not a fan of how the Joker really gets used in this game. Not just because of the, just because of the fact that he's kind of desperate and begging for help in a way. It's also just because he kind of sidelines Hugo Strange, and I think that puts a bitter taste in some people's mouths towards the Joker overall. But, in my opinion, I do think he was done extremely well. I just wish that it wasn't, like a desperation thing. I kind of wish that something about it was all a gag. And yeah, you could say the Clayface plot twist is a gag, but at the end of the day, the Joker wasn't recovering. He wasn't getting any better. So to me, it kind of just felt like something a bit extra with the Clayface pull. But I wanted something different with the actual Joker. For example, I kind of wish that Joker had made some sort of bomb threat or something like that on Arkham City. Something to mix it up a little bit from the first game, if you want to do the Batman-Joker relationship route. However, I do like the Clayface pull. I don't know what it is. Something about it just doesn't really sit very right with me. And I think it's because the Joker isn't necessarily acting like his normal self. He's more like, he's pulling off the typical Joker stunts in terms of, he's laughing, he's joking, everything is a joke to him. But at the end of the day, it's almost like he's putting on a facade to cover up how desperate he really is, hence why he called Batman. However, on the flip side, that could potentially be seen as a positive thing, as for once we're not really trying to go after the Joker. We're not really trying to stop the Joker. For once, the tides have kind of turned, and we're trying to help the Joker to save his life, albeit because we are poisoned and we also want to live, and we'd probably take him down afterwards, but for the time being, we are allies to work together because we have a common goal to reach, and I think that is something that is relatively interesting, at least.
Let you see the world as I see it, giggling in a corner and bleeding.
Number 2, Batman Arkham Asylum. Now, this might seem like a hot take to some people. A lot of people might think that this is a very great story told between Batman and Joker, considering this entire game is around the dynamic of these two. However, I would counter that this isn't anything too special in terms of an overall story. I would argue, actually, that it's more of a generic and basic story, and not necessarily in a bad way, but this is a typical, Joker escapes, Batman pursues him. Like, there isn't really anything here that's, too crazy. Joker isn't really trying to escape. He's not, operating like a normal individual here. He's operating like somebody who's just trying to cause as much damage as possible and have a laugh while you do it. And to him, this is when he's having the most amount of fun, when he's having someone like Batman chase him. He loves feeling chased. He loves when Batman gets really rough with him. And I'm not talking in a dirty kind of way, but in a way that's kind of how the Joker is. That's kind of how he operates. I think there's a slight bit of romanticism here with it, and I think that could be seen as a positive thing. And while this game is about the Joker and Batman, and these two, dynamic and everything, there is something that I do think sometimes that maybe this isn't necessarily just about the Joker, though. It kind of feels like he's hardly even there in the game in the first place. And this game, like I said, does a good job when it comes to demonstrating a pretty basic Batman and Joker relationship. And because it's the first game of the franchise, that's not a bad thing. However, by today's standards, it just doesn't hold up the same as it did back in 2009. And that's not a knock on Batman Arkham Asylum. That's appraisal for the future titles. But in terms of just straight up how the Joker was in this game, I thought the Joker was done pretty well to what they can do, especially considering how short amount of time Rocksteady had to make this game. So I would definitely say that, the Joker in this game was done the second best out of the franchise.
Come on, baby. Beat me till your knuckles bleed. Why quit there? You know there's only one way to stop me.
And at number 1 on this list, this might seem a bit controversial, but I want you guys to hear me out before you pull out your pitchforks. Batman Arkham Origins, in my opinion, is the best display of the Joker. Now, remember when I said at the start of the video, it's not about the voice actors? That's because it's not, because nothing beats Mark Hamill in that department. However, Troy Baker did do an amazing job as Joker. I'm not taking anything away from his performance either. Both guys were unique in their own way, and they both did a fantastic job. It's not about the voice acting. In my opinion, I think this game did the best with the Joker because it really showed the Joker's side as to why he becomes so infatuated with Batman. Because we understand how the Joker is. We understand that he's completely crazy in terms of his beliefs, right? The guy is not exactly all there, and neither is Batman. And this game does a really good job of showing that opposites attract. And it really goes into detail as to why the Joker's so infatuated with Batman. Because in previous medias, you'll generally already understand that the Joker's infatuated with Batman, but you don't generally get a why. And I think this game does a really good job at understanding that. And this video is not about the relationship of Batman and Joker. However, it does kind of tie into it. It is kind of a part of the character, because without Batman, there is no Joker in the first place necessarily. So I would definitely argue that Batman is definitely a key piece of the Joker here. So the Joker in this game was also done extremely well, because the way that he was introduced was all like a big gag in a way, pretending to be Black Mask, hiring a bunch of assassins in Black Mask's name, and when he's introduced, he doesn't fold under the pressure. He doesn't fold under the pressure of being in a room of 6 of the 8 assassins that can tear him apart to bits at any moment. He thinks it's all a joke when he's falling off the building and Batman jumps down to save him again. To him, he's still laughing. He doesn't, break down his facade. And this is when Joker first became Joker. So you can tell that, something with Batman just gave him the motivation to turn into what he became. And the romanticism that I mentioned earlier in Batman Arkham Asylum is even more apparent here in Batman Arkham Origins, because the way that he describes his feelings towards Batman to Harleen Quinzel, who eventually becomes Harley Quinn, but that's irrelevant, that in my opinion, the Joker really demonstrates why he feels the way he does for Batman. You know, it's like he describes it as he feels like he's free-falling and he didn't pack a chute. And it's weird because it's not like, you know, a dirty type of romanticism. It's not like, you know, he wants to go on dates and whatever. He doesn't really want to make love with Batman. It's not that type of romanticism. It's almost like he finally found someone that he can just mesh with. And I think the game did a really good job with that in comparison to the other ones. And this is why I think Batman Arkham Origins did the Joker the best out of the entire Batman Arkham franchise. And guys, this is the Batman Arkham game I think the Joker was the best in personally. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments. Let me know if I missed anything. As well as I do want to make an announcement here, ladies and gentlemen. A little drum roll for me. I will be getting the MetaQuest 3 to play Batman Arkham Shadow when it releases. So I hope you guys stay tuned for that. Make sure to subscribe for that. And make sure that you guys subscribe to the channel in general. We're trying to get to 1,000 subs by the end of the year. I'd very much appreciate that. I appreciate each and every one of you. So thank you guys so much for, stopping by. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoy, make sure to leave a thumbs up. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace!